Hello there, and as usual, I'm Aaron from Last Stand Gamers, and welcome. So today we're in the world of medieval engineers to look at a Roman fort. Now this pops up on the workshop and it instantly grabbed my attention. I've always been really interested in sort of Roman sort of architecture, and I thought this would be a beautiful sort of indication because it's all built on original archaeological sort of remains and discoveries of buildings that are in the ground. Now this has been built by a member of the Steam workshop called We Build the Roman Frontier, and it's been recreated, like I said before, from original documents, and he's tried to lay out the buildings as closely as the game would allow him for each individual building of this town, and he's put quite a lot of detail into each part of it. So we're going to start on the outskirts and work our way into the fort. Now a little bit of history of this fort. It's actually based a few kilometers from Hadrian's wall. That was a giant wall that was constructed to stop the sort of barbarian sort of Scots coming down from the north and pillaging the villages and just reaping all the rewards that England had to offer. And it put up a considerably good barrier and helped the Romans defend the area below. So as we're in this outskirts of town, we've got some basic sort of construction yards, and there's a lot of items that are also in construction as well as sort of wells. And this is a really cool little system that is built here. This is a sort of viaduct to transport water down into the village, and since there's no water in the game at the moment, he's just sort of simulated it. But you can see what he's done here. He's built sort of a pipe, and then it'd be a drainage ditch, and then it leads up into this building here. And if we actually go into this building, I can imagine it's some sort of water storage area. We'll have to see if we can actually get in. So there's chests here, and if we come around here, it looks like we've got some sort of valves, and we've got an interesting looking fire pit. So I guess this is some sort of water related building, some maybe the way they can actually funnel the water into the actual rest of the city and into the fort. You've got the storage areas there. Could also be a trader's. These multiple things, and the only way I'd really know is if I got a tour of the crater itself. So as we proceed back out to town, you can see there's a number of these sort of hay piles around as well. You've got to imagine there's going to be a lot of livestock living off here. And another really cool thing about this town that made me want to look at it is originally the fort was just built. So the fort would just be built, and over time people realized that the Roman soldiers are getting a fair wage, and these people set up here as traders to make the money, and then eventually a little bit of a town forms from that, and it spreads further and further out. So technically kind of ruining the defensive features of this fort itself, because the attackers can get up very close through the village with a lot of cover. But on the other hand, it's created a lot of jobs for the English folk that probably live around this area with the passing Roman soldiers going by. So we've got a few different houses here. There's not many interiors in a lot of them, but I guess that's either to come or it's just too much detail. If that detail gets added, it'll cause a lot of lag. So you can see these little bits of stone at the side of the road, and this area is just so detailed. Just walking down this corridor here just makes you really feel like you're going into some sort of roleplay village, and that's the effect I really love to play with. So as we enter here, we've got some sort of racks maybe to hang something up on, and in this area on the left I believe we have a little bar. You can see there's a little bar, a few tables just before you enter the fort. You can catch the Roman soldiers before they go in, pull them into your bar, make a bit of profit for them. So heading into the fort, we've got a very sort of modern sort of fort. Now later on in later years, as I say, for instance the Civil War, this looks very much like a Civil War Mountain Blade sort of era fort. You've got a very untraditional, you've not got massive castle turrets, but the idea of this fort itself is to act as a reserve for the soldiers that would be protecting Hadrian's wall. That would be a much higher wall with castle turrets and so on. So it's just going to be a massive sort of barracks with a little bit of wall and protection to protect them and deploy the troops fast. Now the majority of these longer buildings act as actually barracks. So if I go down into one of these narrow areas and drop in through one of those doors, you can see these barracks, this bed for all the troops, all the Roman soldiers who'd be staying here. And the other side of the actual fort acts as both storage and production for these soldiers. So these soldiers couldn't just come over here without blacksmiths and all the support that they would require. So we've got a storage yard, and if we actually drop through the storage yard and come out the other side, we've got the starting of the workshops to keep these soldiers moving, keep the machines and the war machines that these soldiers need to actually travel. There's some really cool features though to these rooms. So for instance, I turn that light on, there's like a little bit of a suspended light in the ceiling. Just a simple but quite cool sort of idea, even though it's defying gravity. in the fact that the fire would fall out the bottom. So if we enter into this little section here, we have a number of little courtyards, maybe more of the sort of richer, the honor guard, or what's it called? They have the centurions, I believe they're called. They have different sorts of ranks in the Roman army. I'm so bad at history. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong there. So as we head over to this area, we've got some more barracks. And we have, I believe in this area, is it a small armory or another blacksmith's workshop? So we've got a wheel maybe for turning something. And we've got this use of this mesh grill here. So you can imagine a blacksmith sort of hammering away with his tool, creating all sorts of tools. And they've got the tool racks that they've built over here using the rope sort of string as a sort of shelf. And they've hung the tools through them, the static tool sets. Just a really cool way of doing it. Now I'm going to zoom out and I'm going to show you a little bit more some of the other features in this fort. So we've gone through the majority of areas and we're going to go for the middle area now. Now this acts as a little bit of a training ground and probably sort of a meeting point for all the soldiers in the middle. A number of different armories are in this area as well. You can see there's a lot of axes, so you could grab an axe, get out on patrol, and you've got a larger storage area here. So if this was used in survival, I guess you'd have to protect these two king statues that are located in the center of the fort. And you've also got the other sort of weapons and ammunition sort of storage areas to the both left and right. You've got some weapons stored on the wall there. It's really cool. Now I really enjoyed looking around this fort. There was a lot of detail into it, and I'm really a fan of Roman sort of constructions, so it was cool to see something like this recreated. You can also have a look at some of the artificial sort of diagrams that have been recreated of this town from the artifacts and the sort of remains that have been found, and you can see that the layout is very similar. Anyway, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and go and check this out for yourself. You might enjoy strolling around this place.